Good morning and welcome to Between the Trees Business Talk presented by Woodlands Online. A great opportunity for us at the Woodlands Area Chamber to connect with you and to connect you with some of the most influential people in our community. And today we do not disappoint. We have with us our county judge, Mr. Mark Keough, Judge of Montgomery County. And so we are excited to have a conversation. Judge, welcome to you.
Aaron, thank you. It's exciting to be here. I love coming on this show. You guys are awesome.
We'd love having you here and just learning about what's new, what's going on.
Sure.
But also, to get an opportunity to take a little glimpse into the people who serve. I think so often we see elected officials in particular, and the names on the ballot, get a few billboards every now and then.
Sure.
At different times of the year, there's probably 2 or 3 signs out with a name on.
Yeah.
But the person behind that. And so tell us a little bit about yourself, Judge.
Well, I live here in the Woodlands. I've lived here since '96. We moved here to the down here into Texas back in 1980, and I married a Southern belle. I've never looked back, and we just keep on going. And I've got 4 children, and each of them is doing very well. And of course, we're empty nesters now here in the Woodlands.
Absolutely.
Which I retired in 2013, and from the automobile industry after I'd been in it about 27 years.
Wow.
And so I did that. Then I retired, and then we were participating in a church that we started. We did that through January of last year. Now we've totally focused on the county. And I got to tell you, this has been the coolest thing I've ever done. I love doing what I do. I love the court. I love working with the commissioners. And best of all, I just, we're committed to serving the community. And I'm not trying to be noble about it. We really are. We love Montgomery County. We love the Woodlands and surrounding area. This is our home.
Absolutely.
So.
Well, we appreciate that. And love that background. And I'll also mention, we were just talking a little bit off camera that avid hunter, fisherman.
Yes.
Love getting in those outdoors. And so we'll continue the conversation of how we're going to go catch us a bunch of fish at some point.
Well, you can count on that. Just we'll set up a time and we'll go and we'll even clean them and put them in plastic bags for you.
That's phenomenal. And so it is good though. And that I think that personal attachment, that love of the place is designed to see, the community do well. Sure. In every aspect. And so as you've taken that love for this area, how do those translate into, overall, first, what are the responsibilities of the county judge? So
first of all, I did want to say, when I did retire from the automobile industry, I was solicited by Representative Toth to run for public office. And of course, we had been involved in our church at that point. And I said, well, Steve, how in the world is that going to work? And he had Rafael Cruz come down and talk to me, and they showed me how it could work.
Sure.
So I ended up serving 2 terms in the Texas House, of which if I hadn't done that, I'd have never run for county judge.
Interesting.
But it gave me a real insight into government, big state government, but also local. And what I came to conclude while I was in the House is that at the end of the day, all government is local. I mean, I would work on a bill for a biennium and then possibly go take it, have to convince 180 other people. There's 181 of us. Yeah. Another 180 others to do it, and with the potential of the governor vetoing that bill.
Sure.
Or it not getting out of committee or something. But you know what? Every 2 weeks, Aaron, here in Montgomery County, the commissioners get together and we make decisions that impact the lives of the people of Montgomery County right now.
Absolutely.
And that is exciting to me because, I can work on something and put all that time into it while I learn. At the end of the day, if it doesn't go down, who's it benefiting? I can say, well, I wrote a bill. So what? I want to get things in place that will enhance the lives of the people of Montgomery County. And I've demonstrated that, I think, in how I've operated as county judge.
For sure. That is so true. And, when we look at it, at the federal level, the state level, and then as we come down to the county level, our state legislature, as you know, they go into session every other year.
Yeah.
And really, showing up, they have one job, right? Pass the budget.
At the end of the day.
We look at the federal government, And it's like, holy cow, what's going on there? They're 50 weeks a year.
Sure.
But y'all don't have that luxury. You're like every other week.
It's right now.
You're standing before.
That's right.
And in proximity to the people.
Right.
So there is that high level of accountability. Those conversations are.
Sometimes we get criticized, I think, in the court because we're of not being transparent. Or if it has to do with budgetary issues, that why don't the people know more? Well, do you know how many people showed up for our budget hearings? Right. And after every session during those budget hearings, I asked, is there anyone here from the public? You go back and look at it, every one, I didn't miss one. Is there anybody here from the public that has an interest or wants to share some things about how they feel about the budget? You know how many people showed up?
Zero. Wow.
But that's okay, they trust us.
Yes.
So that's how I look at that positively. They trust us, and so far so good. And but again, the difference between the three is significant. I will say this about our local guys. We have really about 10% of the Texas Senate now that they've redistricted, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
With 31 of those guys, and if we can get 4 people there, three people anyway, and but by the time you work all that in, and then we have good legislators. There was some disagreement over the speaker issue, as you know, and who voted for who and what. But I have to tell you that they've accomplished some great things to benefit our county. Sure. I mean, some serious money that they've brought in. And on a national level, our congressmen have done a great job in bringing in monies, both of our guys bringing in monies to Montgomery County that have benefited us greatly. So, absolutely. So from that perspective, it does trickle down if you want to work at it long enough. For sure. But if you're into instant gratification, trust me, county judge, being on the commissioner's court, bam, you want to do it, let's do it right now. So, absolutely. Yeah. Well, and it's I think that speaks to our entire delegation as well, is that there is that communication, there is that synergy. Everybody is working for the good of the citizenry of Montgomery County. So, that's right. Periodically we'll get sideways in commissioner's court or in a meeting and talk about things, and you can sense the tension. Mm-hmm. And so typical courts, I know this because it was this in the past, people would come out and they'd be holding grudges against the other guy because of this. Sure. And I said to one of our guys one day, I said, what you just witnessed in court, what you just witnessed is our republic at work. Absolutely. All this speech is protected, and our people expect us to dialogue and to ask the hard questions without beating each other up. We don't have to do that, be mean-spirited, but we have a responsibility to people to ask the hard questions, to get the hard answers, and make the hard decisions. For sure. And when you look at it that way, you can walk away from an event and an issue and say, man, how are the kids doing? Yeah. Right. That's right. And I have that relationship with our commissioners. That's phenomenal. And that's the way it should be, because it truly is our government in terms of the representation of the people, in terms of the work that our elected officials do. It is about that civil discourse. That's right. It is about us being able to talk. I look back in history, and it amazes me that the climate we live in today has changed from that dynamic where, candidates as high as presidents would debate one another, and they would go at it fiercely. Right. And then they'd shake hands, they'd walk off that stage, and they'd get on a plane together or a train together, and they'd go, that was a pretty good idea that you had. Let's talk about it. And it was just this civil discourse where we came to those great solutions. Ronald Reagan was a master. He was at statesmanship. And he'd be in with a group of people on his staff or whatever, and people who had some disagreements with him. And they had the freedom to speak. And one individual might say, well, Mr. President, I can't fully go there with you. And Reagan would say to them, scale of 1 to 10, where are you? Well, I'm about a 6. Okay, so you'll give me 60%. I'll take that 60. How about you? That's how you work together and come to conclusions when you have differing opinions. That doesn't mean watering it down. You hold your ground. Sure. But at the same time, there's a way to work these things out. Yep. And it's so easy to get so one-sided, and just every once in a while you have to. Sure. But I think by and large, a lot of these things can be worked out.
Right. And I think those opinions kind of are reflective of the people that you serve,
Yeah.
right? And so if this one's willing to give 60 and this one's willing to give 90, then that's probably going to be
We can get somewhere that something works.
Yeah, and until everybody comes to a good resolution.
That's right. And that's the only way to do it. Otherwise, you're at loggerheads the whole time.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. So knowing that you all are working in that kind of fashion, tell us a little bit, like, what is the day-to-day of the county judge? I think a lot of people might not understand it. Like, what are the overall responsibilities?
Well, some people will ask me, they'll say, would you make an appointment with me so I can sit down and talk with you? Sure, I'd be glad to, but I'm not going to make that appointment. Here's my card. Tell them I gave you my card and set it up. And I have people manage my schedule. And it's not always nonstop, but it's right now, it's pretty much nonstop.
Sure.
After we get done here, we have a lunch appointment that we got to go to. Then I have a meeting with the DA's office, and it goes on all day. And what people don't realize about this position is that it's 24/7.
Sure.
Under my authority, when I took this position, is, first of all, here's what a county judge does. He's the chief presiding officer over Commissioner's Court. Any county that is under 225,000, he's responsible for the financial aspects and does judicial work. In our size county, we were up now over 750,000, so I'm a constitutional judge that's exempted from the judicial type stuff, although I'm able to if I choose to, and I've done some magistration and that sort of thing. So with that in mind, my responsibilities, I'm chairman of the health district. My office of Homeland Security is directly under me. At the end of the day, the buck stops here on any type of cataclysmic event that takes place. I'm the one that signs the executive orders. I have a deputy constable was my deputy constable, who is now my deputy chief of staff, who has been going down into Houston with me and working with HJC and the Transportation Policy Council.
Yes.
So much so, we've had a tremendous influence there, so much so that they asked me if I would rewrite the bylaws for the TPC.
Nice.
And so that was awesome, and I worked on that with Jason, but that's Jason Smith. Jason Millsaps is my chief of staff, but is also my director of Homeland Security and Emergency Management. So we're always doing something there. Aaron, do you realize that since 2019, my inception into this position, my swearing in, we've had 13 natural disasters.
Wow.
7 of which have been nationally proclaimed.
Sure.
That we've been involved with here. Not to mention the places that we send people to go help. We sent the guys out to the California fire.
Yeah.
We will do that. We went to San Jacinto, San Jacinto recently, and that huge fire that was taking place over there. And it was our command center that was set up, and we worked with the Forestry Service, we worked with the A&M, we worked with the constables, DPS, the sheriff's office, all of our firefighters, our fire marshals, and coordinated all that from the command center that is under my authority.
Yep.
So I was right in the middle of all that. So that's all part of it. So there's lots of things to do. And I will tell you, there's as many things to do as you want there to be.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of a driven kind of a guy, so I always like staying busy.
Sure.
Yeah, this will be probably surprising to some people, but I took my first vacation since really about 2013.
Wow.
And we take a couple of days here and there, don't misunderstand, and we made it, Kim and I made it a staycation. So we had a chance to go up the lake, hang out in the area, and it was just so relaxing. I didn't take calls and I didn't take texts for a whole week.
Oh,
that's
nice.
hard to believe.
Yeah.
So, but that's pretty much what we're always going.
Yes.
Since I was been in the Texas legislature, after the event that took place with CenterPoint Energy and Entergy and all in Burrell, I was asked to come and testify, and they gave me standing to do it. I had standing. I was invited testimony, and they gave me ample time in both the House and the Senate to talk because of my background in the House of Representatives. So those 2 sessions really, really turned out well. We also working on some legislation. Matt Gray came up with some great legislation that he and Rich Wheeler had a chance to go and stump for in the House. We supported it and came up with a resolution, and with an understanding of how those resolutions go based upon my time in the House of Representatives.
Sure.
And we got it done.
That's awesome.
Having to do with vendor licensing and that sort of thing. and not being able to sell animals on the side of the road.
Yeah.
Which leads into the next part is that I'm also involved in the animal shelter, which that has been a great, very exciting to me. Of course,
Yeah.
I'm an animal lover, love of dogs and whatnot, but I do videos and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so we've got that deal running pretty smooth right now.
Absolutely. And I think I appreciate you kind of digging in on all of those things, because oftentimes either people don't know,
Yeah.
or we kind of forget, like, oh yeah, wow, that's part of the judge's responsibility as
Yeah.
well. And what some may or may not know is that the emergency response side of things, our county remains on the cutting edge
No question.
in the nation. So nationally we have the best. Right here with mobile
I have two
command
young
and
men
with
working for me, Jason and Jason, that I
Yeah.
just mentioned.
Double J.
Yeah, Double J. And the beauty of Jason A and Jason B is that I have two young men. If they see it and if they hear it, they remember it. How important is that?
Absolutely.
And so they get accurate information. They're able to, I've watched them apply themselves, cross paradigms, and bring about solutions that nobody even expected.
Wow.
It's pretty remarkable. And what we have done, if you were to come out to our warehouse and see the amount of work that we have done in there, and quote unquote, they like to call it all of our toys, but you would not believe the equipment we have that is designed specifically to benefit the people of Montgomery County.
Sure.
It's incredible, whether it's an ambulance bus that holds over 20 people that need to be incarcerated. We went out to the school buses, they called us, that were turned over at the first day of school, to help those kids. Or whether it was out to the fire in San Jacinto, or we send a team of people out to the floods in the Hill Country.
Yes.
So sad. We, as you are aware, and you and I were talking about it earlier, this little gal, Reese Menchaca, we had her escorted back, and she was a citizen.
Yeah. And that barely a month ago.
Tough.
And yeah, absolutely. And the way that our news cycles and things kind of work nowadays, it was one that was super huge.
Yeah.
In the media, and then it kind of died away, and we forget that there is that next step, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it's another one of those parts of the job where the judge steps up and says, as the representative of this county, we will reach out to all of our citizens.
Jason Millsaps, he worked on that with me tremendously, and also Rowdy Hayden, the constable out there in East County, did a great job. And I met them right at the edge of the county, head up 1314 towards the funeral home. And when I got there, I could not believe the amount of people there.
Yeah.
I mean, they had motorcycle groups, all of the constables, all of the firefighters, first responders. It was remarkable, the outpouring for this family.
Sure.
And then I had the wonderful opportunity to be able to actually do the funeral on her behalf. So I spent time with the family.
Yes.
And they're just so grateful, and the school out there, and her mother's an educator out there in the New Caney School District. And, good things happen, I think, from that. And they've recently passed legislation now that to keep this kind of thing from taking place in the future.
Absolutely.
Or at least to mitigate it
Yes.
in a better way. So.
For sure. And,
Difficult time.
And that outpouring, I think, speaks to the kind of the cohesiveness of our county as a whole. I mean, we love Texas.
Right.
We love the greater Houston area,
right.
but Montgomery County is special.
It is.
In that we love the county and we love one another, and that coming together in those times of need is really important. But it almost goes without thought. Like, people hear the need and everybody starts to respond.
It is amazing. It is amazing. We hear stuff going on in another county, and Jason and his team will come in. Here's an opportunity. We've got mutual aid agreement. We want your blessing. Go.
Yeah.
And they do the same for us. When these guys came from Florida
Yes.
to help us with Burrow, I mean, that was amazing.
Yeah, that really
they had a
is.
crowd of those guys there with all the equipment and everything. They stayed in our warehouse. Of course, we took great care of them. Don't misunderstand. We also went down to the border. We needed to send people down there and all the rest of the things that take place. But that's part of Homeland Security and Emergency Management.
Sure.
That's what we do.
And I mean, we talk about the kind of the after effect, but during the floods last month, that we had Montgomery County first responders going to the situation as well, right?
That's exactly right. And to take that kind of expertise and work with Tatum, Texas Department of Emergency Management, those guys are awesome. I love those guys.
Absolutely. Shout out
And,
Randy Vivian
yeah,
at Tatum.
Nim Kid and Sean, and the guys do such a good job. And but we have a great partnership with them. And during the flood last year, when we went over to Kingwood, during Burrow, Kingwood Hospital was on half power.
Wow.
And we were getting telephone calls, and Jason Smith and I were actually going out to those places and appealing to Centerpoint to figure out a way to get this handled. Well, we went out there, and I called the mayor. I said, I realize this is in your ETJ, Mayor Whitmire.
Mm-hmm.
I said, but we're getting calls. Can I help you with this? I would not just go in without saying so.
Sure.
Absolutely, please. He was up to his ankles in alligators.
Absolutely.
So his neck in alligators. So we did, and Tatum stepped right up, and we found out the situation. They sent a team of people in. They came up with an evacuation plan. And about the time we were ready to move 450 people out of that hospital, because they just didn't have the AC and the generator was fixing a crater. And what it turned out was that that they came in, they set that up, and about that same time the power came on. So it all worked out.
All came together.
Yeah.
But we gotta, it's good to know that we were there. And then, another part we've talked about kind of the first responder side, but one of the things that sets the county apart, honestly, is public safety, right?
Oh man.
It is one of those things that it's after people live here, I think we just kind of come to expect it, but it really, if you're not from here or when you first get here, as I did a few months ago, it stands out.
Yeah. It's interesting you should bring that up, because I do a State of the County address, and the topic is basically, how do you explain this growth? And so I talk about low taxes, I talk about a family environment, I talk about the amount of churches that we have.
Sure.
What's important about that? We're communicating virtue to our kids, to our families, goodness. That's how we keep our freedoms.
That's right.
Why do I have to have a law that says don't run over your neighbor's mailbox? If I had virtue, I wouldn't do that. Yep. But another issue is law enforcement. What I say about that is that we have a culture of deterrence. And that these guys know when they come to Montgomery County, here's the culture of deterrence. Number one, that we are going to, if you get caught, you are going to be punished. We will take you to jail. Second thing is that the punishment has got to fit the crime.
Sure.
What that means is every criminal makes a value judgment. If I do this, what's the worst that can happen to me? And we want them to believe a lot of bad things can happen. And then the third thing is how quickly we execute justice. That's important in our magistration, and I've done magistration, determining probable cause and bail and whatnot. We have them in and out in 48 hours. So we have a disposition on that. Now it's a function of getting them through the system. Part of that deterrence is our district attorney, Brett Ligon. I want to tell you, we have, I think, the finest district attorney's office around anywhere, in Texas for sure. They're hard, but they're fair. But you're not going to get away with it, and we're not going to ignore the law. And so that brings a tremendous help to the judicial system, who now we have what we call rocket dockets. And although we have a lot of people coming and going out of there, they come and go out of there quickly. The object is to get them, while they're waiting incarcerated, to get them out of the jail, so we don't have a bunch of overcrowding in the jail.
Right.
And you know what? They do a pretty good job at that in our judiciary. Knowing what I know now, and you can't know this unless you're involved with them. And I've been involved with them. I worked with Judge Hamilton in our Veterans Court, in our DWI court, and in our drug court, and then of course magistration. And what I observed, they are the best.
Yeah.
Just look at their numbers. They are the best.
Absolutely.
In disposition of cases to benefit the community, plus our justices of the peace.
For sure.
They do a great job.
Absolutely.
So that's a culture of deterrence.
Yeah. Well, another key issue is, as we've seen, kind of this astronomical growth and projections to continue on that trajectory, infrastructure and looking at our roadways and County handles a lot of roads. I know you
Oh, yeah.
get a chance to work, in concert with the commissioners and that kind of thing. But it's still on you all's mind.
Nonstop.
And we took a pretty monumental step just a few months ago in making sure that we had some of the dollars available
Right.
to do some key projects. How's that going? How's that coming
It's
along?
going well. The commissioners, we get a monthly update on where we're at in the road bond, and we ask them to do that. Because what happened in our previous road bond, that we haven't done one since 2015, the difficulty there was that we had, once we passed it, there were some issues that one of the commissioners, and he was very sick at the time, and so things kind of got behind.
Sure.
And then the second person coming in and getting acclimated to that. And the result of which is we were still contemplating this, there was still money to be spent from that. That cannot happen.
Right.
Who wants to give money if you've not even spent the money that we have?
Absolutely.
Have designated. So we came up with what we thought was realistic expectations on a dollar amount. Can we spend this money in the allotted time, and with that money prepare for the next one? I think that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we have a $480 million bond and divided that among the commissioners. And in doing that, my encouragement to them, because they do this, I'm just calling balls and strikes.
Sure.
But they're the ones that are actually putting this together with our team. And my goal for them is to take a portion of that money and to put that aside for what we call E-phase. So so that we have stuff ready to go, engineering, environmental, all that stuff ready to go,
Absolutely.
Whether it's eminent domain stuff, whatever. That's all done for the next bond. And we believe that we can spend this money in an adequate time, so in probably 4 years from now, turn around and do it again, with the object being no tax rate increase.
That's phenomenal.
That's the key.
That is key.
And we were able to do that this time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And, I love the way that you all have gone about it, very collaboratively,
Yeah.
very thoughtfully. And with, from the business community perspective, with a broad vision, right? Because
Sure.
we don't do business in a 2-block radius, or,
Right.
it's
Especially in our size county.
absolutely. In our size county, you've got to be able to get from point A to B. You got to get north to south. You have to get east to west, and everything in between. And how we're facilitating that so that commerce can happen, I think will be important as we go down, through this cycle, through the next cycle, and we move forward.
There's another element to that, and that is a unified plan for the county, that we have thoroughfares that will cross precincts.
Yes.
Our tendencies in the past, and the commissioners, they're given a job, they represent their people, and they represent them well. So it's easy to plan a road up to my precinct line and stop, when it really needs to go beyond that.
Sure.
So we've gotten involved with HJs, with the Transportation Policy Council in Houston, who are helping us move forward on a countywide real thoroughfare plan that will bring transportation that will traverse the county and will not stop at lines.
Yes.
Now, if you talk about the benefit that is to commerce, I mean, that's huge.
Yes.
So that we'll come to this one road, we don't have to head south 20 miles in order to move over here. And remember, we're 1,200 square miles here.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of ground to cover, and every time I run a campaign, I'm putting signs out over that whole 1,200 square miles. But that has been a tremendous benefit, and our guy Jason Smith, involved with TxDOT, Texas Department of Transportation, his involvement there, plus the Transportation Policy Council in Houston for our region, has done a phenomenal job in putting that together.
Sure.
So very exciting.
Yeah, and it is, we know that those lines are necessities for, jurisdictions and for the work of government and things like that. But, as citizens even, and as the business community, we've got to understand that they're just drawn on the map. It's important to connect roads across precincts. It's important to have those true thoroughfares and all those things.
There are some people, they're reticent about this growth. As a hunter and as a fisherman, I hate to see the loss of habitat.
Sure.
I do. But the reason people are moving here are the reasons why the people don't want people moving here. That's why they're moving here. Yeah. And we're not going to stop them moving here.
Right.
And so I can decide that I'm just going to put up with sitting for 45 minutes in the morning on 1488, or let's get something done about this and expand it. Let's get Old Conroe Road to go across over the San Jacinto and up there to 336. We're working on that right now.
Absolutely.
That in David Memorial to have an extension off of 45 from Research to go back behind Home Depot and all that area over there by Methodist Hospital and get us out to 242.
Yeah.
Let's finish that ramp that will put us on to 242 and the overpass, which we're working on.
Absolutely.
We got the money and we're doing it.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
these are things we think about.
And those things matter, and you're right. We really can't stop growth. I mean, I was in Austin for 12 and a half years, and that mindset of if we don't build it, they won't come. They've proved that does not work.
That
right?
was absolutely their mindset. We're not going to build. We don't want people coming here. So now when I was going to the House of Representatives, I get about 20 miles out and I'm sitting there and I got to be somewhere in a half hour and I'm an hour away.
Yes, absolutely.
Just because of traffic.
Yeah.
And so there was poor planning, but they're fixing that though.
They're fixing it and they're
Slow but
working on
sure,
it, but it's definitely good to stay ahead of it to the extent that you can. And as we do that, we're doing a great job with it here in the county. So as we think about it, we've got all these things going on. You got the Double J's working over there. We've got all the other team at the county. General state of our county, how are things going?
The state of our county on a scale of 1 to 10 is a 9.5. And the reason I say 9.5 because I wish we'd have planned a little better in the past for some of these roads and bridges.
Sure.
But I have to tell you, as I mentioned earlier, we work very hard at keeping our taxes low to benefit businesses and individuals. We've passed exemptions that weren't expected, especially for our seniors, our elderly that have come down from the state. We've put all that in place. A lot of these things are, you may do this, but not you shall. And so we implement, when there's a may, we do what benefits the people.
Right.
And I have to be honest with you, that you start trying to do budgets on that and whatnot, it becomes painful.
Sure.
But we become we're very transparent, and we invite anybody to talk to us. Every time that we do one of our budgets, as I mentioned, we invite the public to come. There's public notice, it's online, it's at the courthouse, it's in the newspaper. And I guess they just trust us because nobody comes.
Yeah.
And then I hear periodically complaints, but we have state on or about the no new revenue up towards the de minimis rate. Last year we went a tad over the middle rate, but law enforcement was really the key. And this year we couldn't get the no new revenue rate was because of law enforcement. I mean, you figure we had $9 million to the budget, and that's the difference between our current tax rate and what the no new revenue rate is. But the people want law enforcement.
Yes.
So that's another reason for our growth. The family environment. I believe in our community that we are committed to parental authority. I believe that we're committed to good schools. Our schools, man, if you look at where we are in graduation rate compared to the rest of the state, it's pretty unbelievable across the board in all of our school districts. And we also have if you were to go this Sunday and you were to go out and look at how many churches we have in this community, last count, we're probably upwards of 450 places of worship.
Nice.
In various religions.
Yeah.
So why is that important? As I mentioned a little while ago, I think that's important because we're communicating to they're communicating to the parishioners goodness, virtue.
Yes.
And there's freedom for us to operate when we are doing the right thing. I'm amazed to watch President Trump go into these cities with the National Guard. Why is he doing that? Because it's chaos. And the amount of murders that go on, and as a result of that, and in my judgment, when people are doing the right thing and they know to do the right thing and they act on those ways that they learn on Sunday, whether you are a Baptist, a Catholic, whether you're a Muslim, Hindu, and by the way, the Ten Commandments are repeated all throughout the Islam,
right? All
throughout the Quran. When this whole thing came up, I looked at it. So it's the only thing about the Old Testament issue with the Ten Commandments is that they're all right there. You don't have to go and look for them. So it's very beneficial.
Absolutely.
But even that being said, we have a commitment to I think the things that are virtuous for our kids. We see that in our park system. We see that and the time that we give people off.
Yep.
One of the reasons why we match this pay parity for law enforcement with the other areas, one of the things that stood out to me was I want our guys to have the opportunity to stay home with their families and not have to work a second job. That's not asking too much, is it?
Not at all. Not at all.
And I think those are the things that really draw people to the county. And of course, what that has done is that it's caused our property values to go up and whatnot, and that at times can be a little painful to deal with that. But that's a function of the legislature to deal with appraisal reform. We're always talking tax rate reform, but it's appraisal reform that's the real issue.
Absolutely.
So,
well, Judge, thank you again. We really appreciate it. This is a great conversation, and we could go on for quite a while. We're coming to the end of our time, so we just want to say thank you to you. Thank you for your leadership and for all the great work you all are doing across the county. We want to encourage you. You know, Judge is they're transparent in court. You got to show up. You have to hear what's going on. But Judge Keough also is pretty active on Facebook. So if you want to stay connected, check him out on facebook.com/County Judge Keough. Watch the Commissioner's Court. You don't have to actually drive down there, but if you visit mctx.org, you can find all of the Commissioner's Court meetings live right on there. And then make sure to visit the County Judge website at countyjudge.org. So, again, Judge Keough, we really appreciate you being here. Thank you for this opportunity to get to know you.
God bless you, brother. You doing this, the Woodlands, Woodlands Online, and our community here in Montgomery County. God bless Montgomery County.
Thank you.
So thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. We appreciate it. And we appreciate you joining us this week for another episode of Between the Trees Business Talk, presented by Woodlands Online, a series produced by the Woodlands Area Chamber of Commerce. And again, thanks for being here. And we look forward to seeing you next week between the trees. Have a great day.